What's up, guys? We are live. So we got Matt Artisan joining us from the Attractive Man. I'm excited for this podcast. It's been, I want to say, what, like a month in the work?
Yeah, at least.
Sweet. So Matt, for anyone who's not familiar with you, give like a quick 30-second introduction.
All right. Well, I have been a dating coach for about 12 years because I sucked with women, as most coaches uh, sucked usually at one point. And I just
Matt,
wanted
you're
to
a little
find
close
a
to the camera
more.
again. You're kind of like right
Oh,
here.
yeah. I tend to kind of like lean in.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just move it back so I'm
Yeah.
not like
Thank you.
in anybody's face. That's better. So yeah, I just wanted to find a more natural, authentic way of meeting women, going up to women, starting conversations instead of using pickup tricks to pickup lines and all that kind of stuff that I was super into about 10 years ago when I discovered pickup artistry after my band broke up and didn't have any more confidence. I was like that, like everything that I had built to become more confident just kind of went away. And since then, I've been teaching live boot camps all over the world in over 40 countries, and been teaching just a authentic, natural way to meet women without having to swipe endlessly on Tinder, and at the same time, just become the most confident, attractive version of yourself. And yeah,
Holy shit, you've been doing this for 12 years. Usually, job retention rate for MPUAs is like 2 years. 12
I
years.
know,
That's crazy.
I
How old are
know.
you?
I am 39.
Okay. Oh, you look younger. Um, Interesting. Wow, 12 years. So your story of getting into it was what, like you were kind of shitty with girls growing up, and then you wanted to get better, so then you start trying some stuff out, and then eventually you start teaching it. Is it something like that?
It's something like that. The only difference is, I mean, yeah, I was super bad in high school, super bad in college, computer science degree, and but in high school, I was like, okay, I gotta get good with women. Like, I would go out. I mean, this was like the '90s, late '90s, so there wasn't even double your dating back then. So I'd go to Borders and find books, and I just wasn't getting very good results from the books I was reading on how to meet women, and there
Mm.
wasn't much. And so I started a rock band, and that definitely helped. I moved to Los Angeles, and we actually became pretty good and toured with a bunch of big bands like Linkin Park and My Chemical Romance and bands that were big back then.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so I was pretty confident because women would approach me, and if I approached them, it was super easy. It was like, hey, did you see me on stage a couple minutes ago?
Mm.
Um, and even at bars, like I could just walk up and hand them a CD, like, hey, do you like rock music? But then when my band broke up, I realized it was all just kind of like fake confidence, I guess. It was like I had this cool persona, but when that was all gone, I felt like my cool factor was gone. I felt like, why would women want me now? Like, I'm just some regular guy. I don't have any like coolness about me.
You had a high level of
And
situational confidence, like a fraternity brother, right? Like he's confident in the frat party, but when he leaves the college, then he's like, oh shit.
exactly, exactly. So when that was all gone, I got super depressed, and I got yeah, just really discouraged, and getting drunk at bars and trying to meet women that way. And
Oh,
then it was 2008 or 9 where I found like the pickup artist community and started going to a bunch of events and took some boot camps, took a bunch of boot camps, a bunch of workshops in Los Angeles. Eventually started working for another company, and then eventually realized the whole lines and routines weren't for me. I was pretty good at it, but I hit a plateau, I guess, where I couldn't get any better. And I knew there had to be more than just memorizing a bunch of canned stuff. So I started learning from naturals guys. I was living in Newport Beach, and there's a lot of surfer dudes there. So I was like roommates that were surfers. I would just watch what they would do, and they wouldn't do much. They would just like sit back and just chill and say a few things, and women would just be all over them. And studied a lot of psychology, and then came up with ways that just work really well and are just really effective for helping guys become more confident, become the best version of themselves, and attract. dates
Yeah, it's
every
interesting
Sunday.
because I learned a lot from a natural friend I had. I talk about him quite often on the channel. That's where a lot of my early influence was.
Mm.
What age did you lose your virginity at?
I was 16.
Okay, so that's not too bad. You're pretty young.
Yeah, no, I felt like I got lucky or something. But after that, it was definitely a very slow progress to do it again.
Yeah, I was 19, and it took me another year and a half between girl number one and girl number two, and then between girl number two and girl number three was like maybe 9 months, and then the curve just kept going down and down and down. That's the cool thing about learning game. How would you say the? Let me ask two questions. How would you say the pickup community evolved since when you got into the game to where it is now?
I think in the beginning it was just all about lines and routines. There are a few companies out there that would teach some other stuff, some intergame, but it was mostly like all about what you said. And then it evolved. It seems like it evolved to more about like state, like how you were feeling, how you were
Mm,
being, and it was all about like get into state. And now I think it's a lot more. I mean, I haven't really been following like I guess the community or whatever, but at least what we do is it's just more about like your identity, like who you are at the core, and how you feel and being in state. And what you say is still important, but really it's more about like your beliefs and more releasing, letting go of all the baggage that's holding you back. I just have a lot of shame, a lot of nervousness, doubt, and tons of limiting beliefs that we have to usually work on so that they really get results quickly, without having to rely on gimmicks.
yeah, I think another thing you and I have in common, we have a mutual friend, Brian from the Fearless Man, and
Oh
funny
yeah.
enough, I actually did a podcast on his channel like literally an hour ago. Um, how much of an influence did his teachings play in like your approach and whatnot?
It definitely was an influence. Yeah, I interned for his company back around that time, like whenever 2010 probably or 11. I don't know when it was, but actually before that, it was 2008 or 9. Anyways, but yeah, that's when I started like realizing like, okay, there's more to it than just what you say, because he wasn't really teaching any lines, whereas pretty much everybody else I was studying from were. Um, so yeah, he was definitely a big influence. I mean, he taught me a lot about tension too, which is something
Mm,
we still teach a lot about, because it's your ability to just stand in the tension and play in the tension and just like calm in that awkwardness and
mhm.
enjoy it. That really can spark attraction quickly, even make the girl really turned on.
Yeah, you get to a point sometimes where you almost like get off on the awkwardness. Like I live for like tension. That's like an inside joke amongst my friends. Like, oh, Alex loves like fucking uncomfortable situations. Like I almost like live for that nowadays. But you can definitely take it too far. What So let's say you have a client and he has a lot of let's say limiting beliefs or whatever things holding him back. How would you like kind of help him get past that? Like, what are some specific things you would do to help him with that?
Well, there's really two. I mean, one is taking action to overcome that, but on top of that, it depends on the limiting belief. If it's something like women don't like to be approached, then okay, well let's
Yeah,
go approach
let's
women
take that
and
one.
see.
Right.
So it could be taking action, but we also have a whole identity breakthrough process that we bring the clients through, which involves a few different modalities, including a little bit of releasing and timeline therapy and left go method and all these different things that we work with them one on one to help them just let go of the limiting belief. Hopefully
Can you expand on that a
instill
little bit?
more.
Hmm? Without giving like
Oh,
any like crazy info, but like the first thing you said, releasing, like how does that work exactly? Like let's say like for example, I'm your client, right? Like how would that go?
okay. So releasing would we guide you through certain questions, um, and bring up some of the feelings that are
Mhm.
holding you back. So let's say it's like you get really nervous around beautiful women. So we're
Mhm.
we're gonna see if you can bring some of that up right here, even if there's no woman around. And in our workshops, of course, we bring women in, we bring beautiful women in so they can bring up those feelings right then and there, and then just guide them through so that they can just like feel the emotion and eventually like make peace with it so that it's just like, okay, it's just a feeling. It's not like hurting me. It's kind of like hunger, right? It sucks. We don't like it, but it doesn't hurt us. Like we can just sit here and be hungry for a while. It's all good. And
I don't
then
eat
just
all day.
hopefully, yeah,
I'm crying
it's
fast.
good for you,
Yeah.
right? Fasting. And just let go of those feelings so that they don't hold you back.
Yeah. I primarily teach like external game because I am a big believer that if you start getting results externally, that some of the inner game issues take care of themselves. But I do find that kind of stuff that you guys do very fascinating. Truly, like I wish I knew how to teach that because I probably would if I knew it. I just don't really know how to teach it, so I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But that is interesting. It sounds very similar to what Brian does. I went to one of his workshop ages ago, like before playing with fire was even a thing. And yeah, they bring girls in. They like kind of get you like bring up those emotions. So I think that stuff is good, especially if it's not especially, but if it's done right. Um, so the next question I want to ask you, kind of changing gears, is how do you primarily meet girls? Are you more like doing cold approach now, Tinder?
Me personally,
Mhm.
still like daytime approaches. Like I was just in Europe, and it's so interesting because back in the day, like I had to do so many approaches to get a date, right? I don't know what it was. Let's say it was like 10 approaches to get a date, something like that. Now it's like two. Literally on average, it's like two approaches and I'm on a date, like an instant date right there. It's really
Hmm.
interesting because it's less of a numbers game now and it's more just like, okay, find the one that really turns me on that I'm like, okay, that's her, and just go talk to her. And I'm so like in the zone. It's like, bubble around us almost. It's like there's a magical moment, movie moment. And yeah, it's just super on. So it's something I've noticed in the past couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of Tinder and online dating, but mostly still through daytime approaches.
Would you say, because you mentioned something interesting, would you say that the reason you're having a high success rate is at least partially because you've gotten better at picking up on cues and thus you're more approaching girls who are giving you like IOIs? Would you say that's like a big part of it?
Not really, no, because I don't look for that. It's more of just like, is that the kind of girl I'm really into? Whereas before, it might have been like, oh, okay, she's hot, let's go run after her and approach her. And obviously, attractive, I still do that. But it's more of just like finding the one that just really turns me on. Like that's my type of girl specifically. And then I might see a hot girl, but she's like really, really tall, and I'm not into that. Or she's, I don't know, it's her style or something like that. It's like, she's hot, but that's not my favorite type of style. Then when I
Sure.
see somebody dressed the way I like and just really on, it was just really on because I'm just like, they're super focused on her, and I can feel my desire for her. And I think that's why, no, that's what lights her up. It's like she can feel that. She can feel that intensity. Like
For me, it's all about the booty
that I
size.
made it all about her. What is that? You say the
For
booty
me, it's all
size?
about the booty size. A girl could literally be wearing a trash bag over her head. If she's got like a fat ass, like, oh, that's like my type. I don't care. Like, she could be like fucking laying in a dumpster with her fat ass just hanging out. I'm like, all right, that's my girl.
I love it.
But I found that, like, for example, my game has also evolved. But I found that there's like certain, I want to say, realities of the game that sometimes people gloss over. And like, I think, again, maybe you've had a different experience, but like, fact of the matter is, there's a certain percentage of girls that will reject you, no matter how good your game is. And it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with maybe they have a boyfriend, maybe they're in a bad mood, maybe they just, last guy that approached them was super creepy. Like, it can be any number of factors. And I find that number to be definitely over 50%. Like, I don't get bad rejections anymore. I posted one of my rejections recently. It's usually like, sorry, you're cool, but I have a boyfriend. That's like the kind of rejections I get. But I do, I wouldn't say like 50% of the girls I approach, I get their, I get a date with. It's closer to like 20% or something like that. I would say it's really 50% for you.
Yeah, it might. No, I mean, I haven't like tracked it that it's exactly 50% like in the past like 3 years. No, definitely like the last couple dates I went on, yeah, it was 50% just out of that day. Like I approached two girls and went on a date. But no, if I tracked all of them, it's definitely less than.
Was
Yeah,
that in Europe?
that was, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That kind of explains it because I do find I've traveled through Eastern Europe. One thing you and I have in common is we've traveled a lot, and I do find that it's easier in Europe. Girls are just more open to being approached, and they're more receptive. Like they're more just like down. Like if you have solid game, I could definitely see something like 40% in like parts of Europe for sure. Like I've definitely had overall better success rate when I was in Europe or Latin America. When
Yeah,
I
I
was in
remember the
Colombia,
first. Oh, Colombia's good too. Yeah, for
yeah, I
sure. I
remember when I
remember
was in
the first day I was in Bucharest, Romania. I did 10 approaches and got 10 phone numbers. Not Instagram or social media. This was back like before it was super popular. And I got 10 phone numbers. I was like, I am moving here. This is amazing. And then the next day I did 5 approaches and I got 0 phone numbers.
Oh,
So it
dude, I
kind of
fucking
balanced
hated
out.
Bucharest. You like that place?
I liked it. Yeah.
I was so. When did
I
you
was just
go?
there.
Summer or when?
Well, I was just there like literally like less than a month ago.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were there around the same
Yeah.
time frame as me. Yeah. Dude, I did not like Bucharest. I was disappointed. I was coming, but to be fair, I was coming down from Poland, and Poland was so fucking epic. Like Poland, I literally hooked up with a new girl every single night, and I didn't even have to do cold approach. It was like to the point where I could just Tinder a new Polish hottie to my place. And I was like, oh my God, fucking love Europe. And then Bucharest, yeah, it was kind of displeased me a little bit. But that's a whole side tangent. What are some of your, like, out of all the places you've traveled, what are some of your favorite places for game?
My favorites are, I mean, you mentioned Colombia. I love Medellin. I lived there for a while. I
Yeah.
bought a place there for a while. Yeah, I love it there. Like, I don't remember ever doing an approach and getting rejected.
Unless she's like a
Like,
prostitute, yeah.
yeah.
That does
So
happen.
I love it there. I love, obviously, the women are amazing. Brazil is another one. Brazil is awesome.
What cities specifically?
I've only been to like Rio, I think. Yeah, I
Okay.
think I spent 3 weeks in Rio, so I'm definitely going back to explore some other cities. I mean, that's like the only place where a girl kissed me first. I know that's totally normal in their culture, but I thought that was pretty cool. In Europe, definitely like I love Moldova, I love Romania, Belarus is really good.
That's where I was born. I'm from Belarus.
Ukraine. Oh, you're Belarusian.
Uh-huh.
Russia too, man. Like I want to explore more of Russia, not Moscow or St. Petersburg, but all the other cities. There's many big cities there. So I've been to Novosibirsk. I'm sure I'm not saying it right, but that was just epic. So many women.
If you could like pick one city, like right now, like I put a gun to your head, like you have to pick one city where you're gonna live for the next 5 years. What city would that be?
Well, I'm planning on living in Cancun for however long. That's where I am right now. And I kind of like it
Wow.
because there's just so many different Latinas coming here, and then you have a lot of Russians here, believe it or not. Yeah, it's just a super fun place. All my friends come here all the time, so it's like so hard to pick one city. So I feel like here it's like you have like everything. You have everybody coming here all the time, and you have literally the nicest beaches that I've ever seen.
Why
So I'm
Cancun
just
over Playa del Carmen though? I find Playa del Carmen so much better.
Yeah, Playa del Carmen definitely has more of kind of a backpacker feel and more of like an expat community. But I just like the beaches a lot more in Cancun, and
Really?
I couldn't really find a place where you just get a view of the whole ocean down there. Like I've been looking at property for months, and there's just a lot of good deals in Cancun. I haven't really been able to
Interesting.
find much in Playa del Carmen.
To each their own, I guess. So the next thing I want to get into, I was actually watching one of your the text game rules video, and I found it interesting because you and I agree on the majority of them. There's a few that we disagree on, so I want to kind of go through the list. I think it's going to be interesting for the guys, but generally speaking, I agreed with the vast majority. So texting rules, agree. Don't be needy. Very true. Guys are often very needy, and it fucks them over. Agree. Try to shorten every message. You're the first person I've seen talk about that besides myself. So try to make every
Mm.
text as short and succinct as possible. So if you're sending 3 sentences, think to yourself, okay, how can I make this shorter, like 2 sentences, 1 sentence? And feel free to stop me at any time and just like interject whatever you think is like relevant. Proper
Yeah, because the
spelling.
longer you make it, the more invested you are, really. And if it's just some girl from Tinder or something, you should be like, don't really care that much yet. Once you go on a date with her, then yeah, start sending her longer messages, start showing more interest, but don't show too much interest too soon.
Guys tend to be
Atmosphere.
overly wordy. Like they just like you can most of this like I sometimes when I have clients like they'll send 2 paragraphs. I'm like I could have said this in 1 sentence when you said 2 paragraphs.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
big
no good.
one. Proper spelling. Don't use like little girl abbreviations. So true. You guys are like using all these weird abbreviations, WYA and like shit I haven't even heard of that the younger generation's using. So I'm not a fan of that.
Depends on
Uh,
the age, but yeah.
yeah, send cool pics. I like that. I do that all the time. I send a picture of my dog, send a picture of like showing off my tattoos, gym, stuff like that. It's definitely very effective. And what you can do is it's not like you have to constantly get new pics. I just have a few pics saved on my phone, and like I pretty much have a picture for every situation. So whatever the girl says, what are you up to? I can send her like a different kind of pic. So you can just like you get this
I
done
like that.
once, yeah, and you're set. Go for a date on a high note. Definitely agree. Do shit besides texting. Very important. So a lot of guys probably run into is they just have nothing going on besides that girl they're talking to, and the problem kind of takes care of itself when you're fairly busy and you have shit going on. Because me, I don't have to like wait a certain time. I just check my phone at certain times a day when I'm free, and that's when I text the girls back. So I don't have to like worry about like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, guys always ask like, when do I send the text or when do I text her back? And the answer is just be random, like be busy, do shit, like be on your purpose. And that could be different at different moments. You could be like, oh, I'm cooking dinner now. Now I need to eat dinner. And then afterwards, I'm going to just chill out for 20 minutes. That's when you should be checking your phone and texting. Not like, oh, I got a ding, like while I'm cooking, let me check it and write her back immediately. Just do your shit. And then you're only going to be texting women like a few times a day. You're going to be
Yeah,
busy.
I'm generally trying to like because I'm very much addicted to my phone. I'm like guilty of that, so I'm consciously trying every day to like have time where I put my phone down. But I know some people who just literally like I've gone on date. I'm sure you've had this too. You go on date with like a younger chick, like 21. She literally can't put her phone down for like 1 minute, and then I'll like literally be like, "Phone,
It's
I'm taking
bad.
this," and then they look like they're like they start sweating. They're like a drug addict. They're like, "Oh my god!" Like they look so uncomfortable just because their phone is down. Like they look like they're about to have a panic attack. I need my phone. I'm like, all right, Jesus Christ, don't fucking shit your pants. They're obsessed. Like right after you finish having sex, immediately they're on their phone. Like, I gotta check my text. Like, really? Like it's that important?
Yeah,
Never
it's
had a
bad.
girl
I've had
check her
that
phone
too.
during sex, but that would be, I guess, the next level.
It's bound to happen.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen with these fucking Generation Z or whatever the fuck. Be persistent. I'm glad you said that. I definitely agree with that. Also, you can be persistent without being needy, which is something a lot of guys don't really get. Uh,
Yeah, a lot
passive.
of guys, the guys will either give up too soon. They're like, "Oh, she didn't
Yes.
text back. I guess she doesn't like me anymore. Move on." Which that's not good because I mean, women don't text back all the time. Like I don't text back people sometimes because
Yeah.
I forget. So it's like she might have just forgot. So definitely be persistent. But the other problem is they text back like right away. Like I've seen this. My mom is recently kind of single now, which is strange for me, but she shows me like what guys are writing her, and it's like they ask a question and then she doesn't respond in 2 hours, then they send a question mark later to like ping her again, and it's like just that little thing, that question mark. She was like, yeah, I'm done. He sent me a question mark 2 hours later. Means he can't even wait 2 hours for me. Like that's super needy. So yeah, it was
Damn.
interesting.
Mom's is picky. All right.
Mom's
Uh,
picky.
Passive attraction through social media. Definitely agree with that. It can be beneficial. You have a good Instagram. You had a girl on Instagram when you can't see her again. The trap that some guys fall into is they rely on social media too much. But if you're just using it for passive attraction, it's definitely good.
Yeah,
Uh,
social media is like your marketing. I think I heard RSD say this actually. Like social media is like your marketing, but you still gotta have a good product. Like that's key, or else you're just gonna get a lot of refunds. Buyer's remorse. They're gonna meet you in person and be like, "Nope, I should have swiped left."
right. Actually, a specific question I have for you because your Instagram is quite different than mine in the fact that you have a lot of pictures with chicks. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of that is like sponsored posts and stuff like that, like you're like for promotion. But how do girls respond
Yeah.
to that?
I mean, I haven't seen anything really negative.
Mm,
Not that they tell me. I mean, there's definitely maybe they're looking at it and they're like, "Ew," and I don't
mm,
know that, so they don't tell me.
fair enough. Not making the move. Yep, a lot of girls hate it when guys dilly dal. They just fucking text them forever. They never escalate, never move things forward. 100% agree. That's actually one of the biggest complaints girls have. You said that in your video. I
Yep.
agree with that. Positive compliance ladder. I agree with that as well. You want to get the girl in the habit of saying yes and no unsolicited dick pics. That's a big one I disagree with. I'm a big proponent of the unsolicited dick pic. Let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I agree with you.
I have a friend who's like, hey, do you want to see a picture of my cock? And then he'll send a picture of a rooster. I think that's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I have friends who do
Or
that too. Yeah.
you want to see a picture of Dick, and then it's a picture of Dick
Dick
Cheney.
Cheney. Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, that's
I
funny.
like stuff like that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
personally, I wouldn't do that through text because she might get blocked before she even, replies. She's not gonna reply, just block you. But I love stuff like that in person. Like you talked about being awkward or creating that tension. I love doing stuff like that, and then making it seem really sexual, almost like creepy, and then turning it to no, it's a joke. What are you talking about? That way you
Yeah.
get to gauge her reaction. Like you might say that, hey, you want to see a picture of your dick? And she's like, yeah, send it to me. I definitely want to see yours. And then you know
That's
where she's
true.
at now. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I like
I
doing
wouldn't
stuff
do
like
that
that.
though.
Yeah, yeah. One specific text I use that I find that works well. I got this from one of my clients. Is if a girl says she's not having a good day or whatever, I'll say, "Well, here's a dick pic to brighten up your day," and I send her a picture of Dick Cheney, and that works wonders. Like
That's
girls love
exactly
that.
what he does too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
I used to be like, a big fan of texting, and I wrote the Turn Her On through text because I was sending so many text messages back then. But now, like, my texting is very minimal. I only pretty much text to get a date, and that's it. Like, if she isn't available, then I might not text her for a week or so or longer, and then try again. Super minimal now.
all right. So the two things that I sort of disagree with you on is, and maybe we can kind of flesh these out. One is no one word answers. So my logic is, generally speaking, you don't want to be giving girls one word answers because they take it as if you're not interested and they're like, okay, whatever, fuck this guy. But the exceptions are, one is if she's giving you shit. So she's like, oh, you really think you can do that to me? I'll just say yes. Like, like, oh, how do I
Oh
know?
yeah, I
In
agree.
situations like that, I think one answers can be good because it's like the opposite of
Yeah.
explaining yourself and shows a lot of confidence. That's one. And then another one is if the girl is being like, she's giving me the vibe that she wants to be my text buddy, but she doesn't want to like meet up in person. So, for example, she's being responsive, but then when I try to go for the meet, she deflects. At that point, I will let my investment in texting drop and drop and drop. And the point I'm trying to communicate is, hey, you're only going to get my investment is if you meet me in person. So that would be like my two exceptions to that.
Yeah, it's like your reward. You want to reward good behavior. You don't
Exactly.
want to, like, if she's not texting back or taking forever or whatever, not meeting up. Yeah, you don't want to be sending long messages. You don't want to
Right.
be giving attention. Like if the girl's like, if I'm like, hey, let's meet up tomorrow night, go to this place. She's like, I'm busy, and that's all she says. I'm busy. Probably not gonna reply to that at all, and just not text for like a week or two, just because it's like, okay, she's not that interested. Okay, maybe I'll come back to her later. Or
Right.
send, like you said, send a one-word answer and just say like, cool, and then
Yeah.
again, not text her back for a while.
The one thing we might do differently, and tell me if you do this, I could be wrong, is I'm a big fan of calling things out in a playful, non butthurt way. So, for example, if a girl's like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm busy," I'll be like, "Look, I get it. I have a business, I'm busy too, but I'm sure we can both find like a few hours for a love, like something like that." Like I like to call shit out when it's a pattern. So if the girl is like, being a little flaky, I'll be like, "I genuinely didn't take you for the flaky type." Like, do you do stuff like that?
Yeah, it definitely can work. Yeah, you can call her out. It kind of depends, it depends on the situation, depends on the
Of
girl.
course.
I like to keep it like a little bit more playful, like just
Mhm.
add like kind of like some humor to that. Like, yeah, I'm sure you're too busy saving the world using your such and such superpowers or something. I don't know, something like that. Um, it just depends. If like you get like no response from that, then maybe a more direct method is gonna work better. Actually, like call her on her shit.
I find the
But
text
I think calling somebody on their shit works a lot better in person. But then again, everything works better in person. So.
to some extent. I like the text. I genuinely didn't take you for the flaky type. Gets a response from chicks that like didn't respond to anything else. Like I have situations where there's like three,
Mm.
text missed texts in a row. Obviously, they're all spaced far apart. And then I hit her with that genuinely didn't take you for the flaky type, and voila, she appears out of nowhere.
Nice. I'm gonna try that because I haven't used that.
What's a good one?
I usually send if it's like three texts in a row with no response over time. I usually just say, "Are you still alive?" Question mark, and that does pretty well too. But yeah, I'm wondering if
Mm.
are you the didn't take you for the flaky type. Nobody wants to be really considered a flaky person.
Exactly. That's the genius in
So
it.
I could see why that would work.
Yeah, because you're saying, and
Also, nobody wants to be presumed dead either. So maybe that's why "Are you still alive?" works too.
That's true. Are you still alive? And are you still flaky? You could try to combine those two. Like I can definitely see someone watching this doing that. So the other thing that you and I might disagree on is you say it's important to get her on the phone. So my counter logic to that
I say
is
that.
in that one video you did. I mean, maybe you've kind of revised your position on that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But so anyway, like my kind of thing is I'm also a big fan of getting girls on the phone. Like I like it. I just think that quite often I see guys like just push so hard for the phone call when they could have just gone the date. So because you can't fuck the girl through the phone. I mean, it's a Soldier Boy song, "Kiss Me Through the Phone," but you're not gonna be fucking her through the phone. So I just see guys like sometimes overdo it. Like they think like I have to get
Yeah.
her on the phone before the date. I'm like, no, at this point you can go for the date. So what's your take on that? Like how often like how hard are you
I
pushing for a phone call?
I rarely call girls. Very
Okay,
rarely. I
that's
like
kind of
to
what I
do
figured.
as little as possible. So if it's like, okay, something's not working, try something else. I think that's
Right,
important
right,
too. Good
right.
rule. So I like to, yeah, if something's not working, try something else. So if I'm trying to get her on a date and it's just not working, especially if we met online, which most of the women I meet in person, usually that's not an issue because they know what I'm like in person. They have a sense of who I am and my vibe. So they've already kind of decided, like, yes, I want to go on a date with him, or maybe no. But that might not be the case if we met we met online. Therefore, if I'm still going to try to go for a date first without calling. I don't really want to
Ah,
call
okay,
her.
okay.
So so yeah. But if it's not working, then I might say something like, "Hey, I'm busy right now. I'll call you tonight at around 8." And just see how she replies to that.
Mm,
Also, voice notes are really good
yeah,
too,
agreed.
especially on Instagram, because if you look at a girl's Instagram, it's text, 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 and then you see a voice. She sees a voice note. It's A, it stands out. B, she can't see what it says, so she has to actually listen to it. Where when somebody else leaves like a 5-word answer, she doesn't have to read it. She can just see
Right.
what his reply is. So she's gonna listen to it. And then you can just do more, right?
Yeah.
Communication in general, words, according to whatever study way back when, is like 7% of communication. So vocal tonality brings a lot more to the table as far as communication. You can communicate a lot more, and you can sound all sexy on the phone. Hold it up like this.
Yeah, I definitely agree
So
with that. I use voicemails all the time, and they're super effective. I'm a big fan. All
yeah.
right, so then it's kind of funny because actually, as we kind of flesh this out, we basically have the same position on these things. Next thing I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on how to sexualize over text?
That's a good question. I honestly I don't do a lot of sexualizing over text anymore because again I'm just trying to do as little as possible to get a date and then sexualize in person because I feel like you do have to be careful through text that you don't creep her out, like you don't do something like too sexual.
Right.
So like the thing we talked about, like the Dick Cheney thing, that's a good way. That can definitely do it, which can't really backfire too much. Um, Another thing that I like to do is
That's
just
the
say
guy that
like,
shot my dad in the face.
yeah, it could backfire, I guess. Um, but I like to do like misspell words on purpose. Like, cool, I'll be there in sex. Just instead of in a second, I put sex. I'd be like, oh my bad, I meant sec. Like stuff like that. I think it's
That's
just
funny
kind of
because I do.
fun.
Yeah, I do a variation of that. When a girl shows up, when a girl's like, I'm, outside my place, I say coming, but I spell it cum. I always do that. I always like just do that. Girls usually get a kick out of it. Yeah, that's funny. I do that too. Funny, funny.
Yeah, it works. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's never backfired. I used to do this thing where when I get a number, I would kind of test her reaction and be like, hey, I'm gonna text you something naughty so that you know it's for me. And I like that. I don't do that really anymore, uh, but some women would be like, ooh, yeah, I like that. Text me something naughty. Other times they'd be like, what? Oh no, right? So it's a way to like see how naughty she is in a sense, like how sexual is she? And then I would just text her the word something and the word naughty with like emoji or something. So that was kind of sexual. But if you check out, I can't really go into it here because these are really long texts. But if you actually check out Turn Her On Through Text, I talk about like ways to get things really sexual, and it's like more like romance novel kind of sexual, like actually telling her what you would do to her, and that can work really well. It's better if you're already at a more intimate level first, and you can introduce it indirectly, like, oh, you're never going to believe like this book that I read or my friend was reading the other day called 50 Shades of Grey or something like that, and you like start with a quote from there, and it's like really sexual, and then you just take it from there. Just keep making it more and more sexual. Also, one more thing that I've done that turns it sexual, which is also in Turn Her On Through Text, is the word, what is it called? The word association game. So you just tell her like, hey, let's play a game. I'm gonna text a word, and then you text a word, and I'll text the first thing that comes to mind, right? And so you both basically go back and forth and text the first thing that comes to mind, and you just turn it sexual. You start with like car and driver and like very non-sexual things, but then it turns into things like wet and moist and hard. I remember the first time I played that game with a girl, she was like, okay, you're turning me on. You need to come over right now.
Interesting.
So it definitely worked.
Interesting. I could imagine myself doing that in person. I'm trying to think over text. It's interesting. The one kind of game I sometimes play over text, I call the question game. So I'll say, okay,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. You ask me 3 questions. We have to answer honestly. The first question will be innocent, but they just get more and more sexual as the questions go. And it's funny because the girls usually don't ask like super sexual questions, but I'll always ask like, so, shit like that.
I always do that on dates. I've never done that through text. I know. Yeah, I've heard people do. So I gotta try it through text. But yeah, I like it on a date because it definitely turns the conversation sexual. It always goes sexual. It's like 2 truths and a lie. You play that on a date, it's gonna get sexual pretty quickly.
What's your strategy for dates in general?
A couple of rules that I have. One is definitely go to multiple venues. That's like so important. That's so key, I think.
I used to do that.
If you stay in one venue and you just have 2-hour conversation, it's great. You might have this great conversation, but it's like not very memorable unless you bounce around in the venue. It's like some big venue we can do all this stuff. That's cool too. That could work. But you want to have memories. So you want to do multiple things, like go play pool and then go to the bar and grab a drink and then go off to another venue and then go dance in that venue, then go to another venue and watch a band. And it becomes like this adventure. So I think that's really important. It just becomes way more fun for me too, versus like sitting and talking. So that I think is really important. Venue changing, escalating. Well, fun. That's another one. I would say that one's really important. Guys forget to just have a good time on dates, and they just end up having coffee and talking the whole time, or having dinner, and it's just not all that fun. So like, go to venues that are fun for you. That's important. And if you just go to a regular bar or a coffee shop or something, well, then it's up to you. Then you bring out the fun, like play games, like what we just said. Those are a couple examples of games you can play. And then, of course, escalate, assuming everything's going well. Take things to the next level. So really, I see it as 3 types of escalation. One is moving, getting closer and closer to your place, and venue changing. The other is physical escalation. So have reasons to touch, dancing is a great one. And then sexual escalation, talk about sexual things. It's not crucial. You can have sex without talking about sexual things, but it definitely speeds things up. It gets her thinking, both of you really thinking about sex as you're talking to each other. So it's just more likely to happen. The more you talk about sex, I think the more likely it's going to happen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you do a lot of straight to the house dates? Because that's like a big thing I do. I teach. Just get the girl to come straight to the place.
I usually do like short dates, but not straight to the house. Usually it's like maybe an hour and then back. No, how do you do that?
Try. It's a fucking game changer. You'd be surprised how many chicks are willing to come straight over. Yeah, I generally like follow like the most straight line possible method. So if I first invite the girl over, if she's not down, then I'll meet her at a bar as close as humanly possible to my place. I used to actually do a lot of the venue bouncing. And I think it's a good strategy. I'm not
Hmm.
like knocking it. What I do now is I'll meet her at a bar nearby, and then I'll just like within 30 minutes I'll pull her. So I'll be like, oh, let's go somewhere else. I know a super romantic spot. That's like my little inside joke with myself. And that romantic spot turns out to be my place. How convenient. Uh, and actually, I get pretty like guys are just like,
Okay, so
oh,
it's not straight to your house. So it's the first venue, then straight to your
no. So I will first my first plan A will be to invite her straight to my house. If she says no
house.
to
Okay,
that because she's not comfortable, then I'll invite her to a bar nearby, and then I'll bring her straight to my house.
got it. And then how soon do you make a move?
Really
If she
depends on
comes
the
straight to your house?
really depends on the girl's comfort level.
Yeah,
Most of the time, for girls willing to come straight over, they get comfortable fairly fast. But sometimes
yeah,
you have situations where the girl comes straight over, but she's still so her body language. So like at that point, I'll give it more time, let her get comfortable. So it just really heavily depends on her body language. I've had situations where I'm like making out with her within like 3 minutes. We're having sex within 10 minutes. I don't do that as much anymore because I think the sex is better when there's like more sexual tension. But I used to do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I like doing like two venues. Even it depends on the situation, but yeah, if it's a really like super on, like you play the question game, and your first question is a sexual question. It's like, all right, this is gonna be the last venue, then we're going back to my place. So kind of just depends because I feel like every girl is different. Like some girls are DTF right away. Other girls, a lot of girls I think take a little bit more time. At least they want to feel like, okay, this is gonna be a safe option. But if you can communicate that over text, whether it's through a phone call or whether it's through voice notes, and she can feel safe, very safe for the date, and obviously attracted as well, then I can definitely see that working
Yeah, one thing I
for
used to
sure.
do
I've
back
had
then.
a few times actually where they came back, but I remember I got like catfish one time. It was a girl from Tinder, and she came straight to my
Mm,
place. I'm like, this is not good. I don't know what to do now.
yeah, in that situation, I just give them a hug. I say, "Hey, sorry, I'm not feeling it." I remember back when I used to live in LA, back when I had like when I was broke and had no money, but I was still like trying to get laid a lot. I couldn't, especially because LA is everything's so expensive. So I needed a way to like go on a lot of dates without spending a lot of money. So what I used to do is I used to have the girl meet me at Coffee Bean, which is like Starbucks. So she would think it's a coffee date, right? I would get a coffee, and then oh no, wait, I'm getting it wrong. So what I would do is I would have her meet me at like a nice hotel, like the Roosevelt, right? And I would say,
Mm.
yeah. I would be like, oh, yeah. There's a girl's like, oh wow, I love this place. It's awesome. I'm like, yeah, let's meet there. So I'd meet her outside the Roosevelt, and then like we would get there. I'd give her a hug and be like, hey, wait a second, hey, follow me. And I would go to the Coffee Bean, right down the thing. I would get like a big cup of tea. I'd be like, you want anything? She's like, no, I'm good. I thought we were having drinks. I'm like, yeah, we are. And then I would we go back to the Roosevelt, but I already have like a thing in my hand, so I can't order a drink for myself. And thus I can get out paying for her drink. So these are like the extreme fucking measures I would like have to go to back when I
Funny.
had no money. Again, I'm not saying you guys should do that, but just saying there's like always where there's a will, there's a way. So
Hey, if you don't have any money, there you go. Or you go to places that don't cost any money, like date, like walk through the park. I've done dates like that, just walking through the park, and then we'll go into like some. I guess this was in Europe. We go into like a cathedral, go sightseeing, and then go to a cafe. So I guess spend money on coffee. That was it. Back to my place.
for sure. So the next topic I want to ask you about, actually, this is one. So I think one other thing you and I have in common is we're both in relationships. What's the nature of your dynamic? It's with the Asian girl, right? She's the one that's in
Hmm.
like all your, yeah. Okay. What's like
Yeah, Jen.
okay, yeah, I feel bad calling her the Asian girl. I just didn't know her name. What's like the
Short
dynamic? Is
Asian.
it like open relationship or what's the deal?
Yeah, open marriage actually.
Oh,
So
you're
we got
married.
married. Yeah, we got married in 2000, December 2018. And in actually in Playa del Carmen. Um, and yeah, it's been open. I mean, I don't go out like all the time or anything. I'm very, very, very happy in our relationship, but she's totally cool with, you know, doing what I want. So, here and
How
there,
does
like
it
if
work?
I'm on vacation or something.
How does it work? Like, what are the rules?
Uh, good question. Yeah, there's always rules, I feel like in any open relationship.
Right.
Ours are basically like certain things, like always use protection, which I would do anyways. Don't go down on the girl, and tell her everything. So I have friends that are in open relationships, and theirs are very different. They have open relationships where they don't tell each other anything. Like, don't ask, don't tell. we're
Mm.
very open about it, and she doesn't
So,
see him. She doesn't
oh, so
communicate.
she does not hook up with other guys.
No.
So it's a one-way open relationship.
Yes.
Okay, that's what a lot of guys kind of fantasize about. So what does she ever like bring up the issue of like, oh, it's not fair, you get to hook up with girls, I don't get to hook up with guys, and if not, how did you kind of like navigate that?
Not really. She doesn't really want to. I mean, she'll make comments like, "Oh, that guy's hot," things like that. But yeah, there's just never been like that. I mean, here's the thing. It started as an open relationship, like
Mhm.
from day one. I was living in the Philippines, and I had a few other girls living with me at the time, and so it just started like that. Definitely wasn't planned. I was not planning on getting in a relationship at that point.
Mhm.
But it kind of just evolved a
That's
bit.
funny because I see a lot of overlap between our lives because I'm also in an open relationship, which is I'm not married, but which is de facto kind of like that, where like I hook up with other girls, she doesn't hook up with other guys. We kind of fell into it. Um, yeah, I had no intention. What made you decide to get married? Like, what was the catalyst for that?
Um, just I knew she was the one, man. One of those things. It's hard to like verbalize it, but it was just like this girl's awesome. We had so much fun, have such a deep connection. Even their English is perfect, much better than it was back then. But yeah, man, it's just like, for example, like I would go somewhere like for like Russia or somewhere where it's like women are gorgeous, and I wouldn't even though we're in an open relationship, it's like I didn't even want to do that. So the funny thing is, it's like having the open relationship makes me want to do it a lot less. When I was in a closed relationship, it was like I wanted to be with other women all the time. Like
Right.
I'm totally content, like just with her for sure. So
How
I've
did
had
you guys?
opportunities where like the girls were gorgeous, and I was like, it's all good. I've
How
been
did
there,
you guys
done that.
meet initially?
We met at a Halloween party that I was throwing at my place, and she actually rejected me initially. She walked in and saw like 10 other girls. It was me and about 10 other girls in my condo, and I went to like say hi to her because it's my place, and she pushed me away. She was just like, "Oh no," kind of doing the Asian thing, like no hugging, but like just pretty much rejected me in front of everybody. But I was like, whatever, it's all good. I pretty much ignored her the rest of the night, focused on other girls, and it was actually the next day that we started hanging out and realized super into each other. Because
Mm.
I was
How
kind of
did
like, screw this girl.
how
She's
did that
gonna be
transition
like that.
happen? Like, how did it go from her like not being into it to her being into it? Like, what was the how did that like transition go about?
You mean the next day?
Yeah.
It was she just came back over and we just started actually talking because the night before was more in party mode. We actually started talking and hanging out and it just clicked. I mean, it's hard to say exactly what happened. We ended up hooking up. That was part of it, of course.
Okay, cool. I mean, interesting. Yeah, there's not too many guys in the community who are in open relationships. It's fascinating. Do you have any issues in terms of that? Like, is there anything that you found like some pitfalls?
I mean, I think there's pitfalls whether you're in an open relationship or a
Sure.
closed relationship. There's going to be challenges no matter what. It's not like, I mean, a lot of guys, I think they think like, oh, open relationship, it's going to solve all my problems. No, I mean, there's been instances of jealousy and things like that. So, but I mean, as long as we're mostly me being super open and honest, then usually everything is pretty good, fine.
Do
So
you guys
that's
pick up girls together?
we do. Yeah, we go out. Even today, we're driving and drove by this really hot girl. She's like, "Turn around! What are you doing? Go back there. Go talk to her."
That's fascinating.
So yeah,
Do you guys do threesomes and shit?
hmm
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
we've
what
done. There's been some crazy things.
fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to cover that. All right, let's take some questions because we got a bunch building up. Oh yeah, there's a bunch. Alex, try not to start late. Challenge impossible. Yeah, that would be impossible. Uh, Okay, well, Matt, what did you think of Curtis roasting you? So Curtis is a comedian guy, right? Is that who it is? Curtis
Yeah,
O'Connor.
yeah, something like that. I mean,
Well,
there's been a couple of videos, or at least two that I can think of. I think they're all pretty funny, honestly. Like, usually when people try to make fun of me or roast me or whatever, I mean, it's usually I don't know, they're just kind of shooting at things that are just kind of silly. Like, I mean, he was like, "Oh, you made a video on what to do if a girl looks at you." I mean, yeah, that is a pretty silly topic because like the answer is look back at her and talk to her. And so I mean, I laughed when I saw, his comments. I thought it was pretty funny. There was another one, I forget who did it recently. He was an actual comedian. It was like really funny. I'll have to find it.
yeah,
Yeah, but I love that kind of stuff,
I
man.
saw that when I was
I don't take myself too seriously at all. I mean, some of what I do, of course, is very serious, helping people, but like personally, nah.
yeah, that's a good attitude and mindset to have. Actually, I saw that video when I was like researching you. That video got like 8 million views. I'm gonna make that video now. Like, what to do when a girl looks at you? I was like, shit, 8 million people are curious about what to do when a girl looks at you. Like, all right, like that's fascinating. That's like I think that's like your most popular video. It's great. 8 million
Yeah,
views.
yeah,
That's
I was
mind-blowing.
very surprised. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
very surprised. I'm making one now. What to do if a woman doesn't look at you? I don't think it's gonna do as well, but we'll see.
Hey Alex, when I add a girl on Snap, should we just talk like friends or start flirting? Start flirting. You don't want to like friend zone yourself. Your
Yeah, I would
camera's
just
so.
send her cool pictures. I'm not super into Snap,
I'm
but
not either.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even text really right away unless she's texting you. I would just send her whatever cool shit you're doing. Like the cool thing I do like about Snap is that you can edit their name, so you can put them in categories. You can put like a symbol or something, and then like all the girls that you want to send a certain picture or video, you just type in that symbol, and all those girls appear, and you just and you send it to all of them really quickly. I love that. Whereas Instagram, you can't do that. At least not as easily.
I'm honestly not a fan of Snapchat at all. I tried it for 3 months and it's just like a bunch of time wasters and people who just want to fucking snap back and forth all day. And fucking the girl's like, oh, like I'm gonna send you a sexy picture. I don't give a fuck. You know how much free pornography is on the internet? Like, I really need to see your fucking selfie of you like trying to show off your titties. Like, no, like either come over or leave me alone. Like, I'm not gonna fucking exchange sexy pics with you all day. Like,
Or they want you to send nudes to them, which like
yeah,
I don't want that shit on the internet. And like, what is the point? What is that going to do for me? They're in a different city. It's not like they're going to come over right away because they're so turned on by my body. So yeah, I don't do it.
yeah. How do you guys, Alex and Matt, choose your girls to approach in person? Do you just wing it, or do you feel inspired to? So based on her looks.
Well, like I'm inspired now. Like I think in the beginning you shouldn't be too picky. Like I think you need to build that confidence, that competence, that skill. So don't be picky. At least that's what I did. I mean, I even lowered my standards quite a bit. I went on dates with girls, 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago that I wasn't very attracted to, but I got to practice everything from the approach all the way to the bedroom and it was helpful. But now I'm super picky.
Yeah, I go up to only girls I find really attractive. So yeah, if a girl's got like a flat booty, she ain't getting approached. If a girl's over 5'5", she ain't getting approached. I like shorter girls. So you don't have that in common. So yeah, I'm very picky. Like a girl has to be very physically attractive. I will approach, as long as I'm free, any physically attractive girl. In terms of who I'm going to date, then I'm going to be way more picky based on her personality. But just in terms of initial approach, it just has to be hot. Matt, who are the top
I
five
agree.
PUAs according to you?
PUAs. I don't know who considers himself a PUA anymore,
We're
but we'll just
people in
go
this
with
community, I guess.
yeah, people that teach this. Top five, man. Let me think. Um, Definitely Brian Bajin, who we talked about. He was a mentor of mine. Um, let's see. James Marshall was a mentor for a long time. So I like a lot of stuff that he does. I mean, I liked all of RSD's stuff, like their content. They got a lot of bad raps, throughout the days. So can't really
I like some of their
speak
earlier
much about
content.
that. But Yeah, I like their stuff. I like
Playing with Fire, obviously,
Playing with Fire, of course.
of course.
And Dan, Bad Boy, who's a buddy of mine. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, just what he talks about being direct, I love. So I think that's 5.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer because it depends on, first of all, I feel like every coach has their strengths and weaknesses. That's the
Hmm.
first thing. The second thing, for example, Brian is the best, I think, for inner game. Probably doesn't get better than Brian, in my opinion. But I mean, Tinder is not like his forte or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think are we talking about purely in terms of their ability to get laid? Or are we talking about their ability to teach? Because I know guys who are very good at banging girls, better than me, much better than me, but they can't teach for shit. So yeah, it just depends on like what exactly the criteria are. Plus, I haven't met every guy in the community. I mean, as the channel grows, I get to meet more and more of you guys, which is awesome. I get to connect, but I still only met a fraction of like the PUAs out there. So yeah. Marcus Wolf tells guys to imagine their girlfriend getting railed by 5 dudes at the same time. How lovely. Tyler said, even if a girl had a game bang, if she's with you, she won't cheat. How do you know if a girl's a slut? Why the fuck would you ever imagine a girlfriend getting railed by
Such a
5 dudes
great
at the same
question.
time? I would never think about Natty getting game banged. I don't want to know anything about her having any
I
penis
mean,
inside of her. That's not mine.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, you gotta understand that women are highly sexual. So she might have done some crazy stuff before she met you. I don't know. I
how
mean,
dare you? My girl's an angel.
how do you know if a girl is a
That's
slut?
good.
I mean, you kind of know.
You kind of know.
You
Yeah.
kind of just know. I mean, yeah.
I can
She's
tell
probably gonna lie to you about
pretty.
how many people she's been with if she tells you that. I mean, I don't know if that's even a good question to ask, but
I
yeah,
can tell
that's all
pretty
I got to say about
quickly.
that.
I can tell pretty quickly. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a vibe. Uh,
Yeah, but don't slut shame, just because she
yeah,
wants to
yeah,
be as
yeah.
sexual as a guy, I mean, in some cultures, that's totally normal. Like, you spend a lot of time in Scandinavia, man, the girls are going to be
That's
escalating
true.
on you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They sleep with a lot of guys, like a lot, probably more than the average guy, definitely more than the average guy. So
Yeah.
it's just a
Uh,
cultural thing too.
if I make an Instagram, it'll be based on my interests, health, nutrition, fitness, me. So it's a good way to find like-minded women. To some, yeah, that is true.
Yes, I
Okay,
guess that's a yes or no question.
I like this. How do we know he's in Cancun? Have him show the beach. That'd be like the most random thing to lie about. Like, oh, I'm actually in Mexico City.
I don't have a beach view where I'm at right now. Sorry.
Fake. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, what percentage of? Okay, this is an interesting question. What percentage of girls come straight to the house? I guess more of a question for me. Something like 30 to 40%, something like that. Probably slightly under 50. Depends where I'm at and how aggressively I screen. When I was in Medellin, I had so many options that I was literally not even meeting any girls in public because even though 60% of girls didn't want to come straight over, there's still so many girls that there's more than enough that wanted to come over.
Did you find that a lot of them flaked?
I find Colombians in general to be fairly flaky, so there was
Yeah, I
definitely
found that too.
a high flake rate. So when I was in Colombia, I was just like multi-scheduling on a girl for 6 p.m., girl for 8 p.m., girl for 10 p.m., three girls on
Yep.
backup. Uh, and sometimes
I
you
had
have
one time I scheduled 3 in one day and they all flaked. But
dude. One
I
time,
realized the last couple times I've been there, it didn't happen at all. I didn't have any flakes. So I don't know if it's like changing or I'm changing or it's just stats. I don't know.
one time when I was in LA, I had 5 dates in one day, and I was like kind of nervous. Like, holy shit, am I really gonna be able to fuck 5 girls and all 5 of them flake? That was like a fucking world record for me.
Yeah, LA is bad too.
How do you increase retention with girls after the second date? What's your take on that?
Blow their mind in bed.
I would agree with that.
Usually the reason like girls like don't go on a second date, it's not because you didn't sleep with them, but it could be. It could
Mhm.
could be. It could be that you didn't try, like you didn't man up and make moves on her. But yeah, definitely like if she's not the kind of girl that would go home on a guy on a first date, then did you at least try or did you at least try to kiss her?
Mhm.
Like that's usually the biggest thing that you won't get a second date because escalation. I mean, there's other things too that it could be, but I'd say that's probably the biggest.
So
Didn't make
true,
the move
man.
on
So
her.
true. Yeah, yeah. It's it's like almost a paradox of game. I find this so paradoxical how if you're the guy who wants to be like more respectful because blah 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 blah, girls will verbally encourage that, but they will actually punish you by that through their actions. The best thing, if you like a girl, the best thing you can do is sleep with her because that is the maximum investment. And I'm not talking about like for just a one night stand. Like if you want to actually date that girl, like if she has sex with you, she's investing heavily, and that's going to increase your likelihood of seeing her again. So yeah,
Yeah.
so true. What were some of your biggest things from your date game approaches that led to your number closes dying off or being ignored altogether, preventing you from getting a date? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, you read that really fast. Okay. Approaches that led to your number closes dying off. So meaning getting less number closes or being ignored altogether, preventing you from getting. So basically, what are the things during daytime approaches that would prevent you from getting results, getting numbers?
Yeah.
Sounds like. Okay. So usually it's two things. It's not showing enough desire, enough interest.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you're not doing it in the right way. Maybe you're giving a compliment, you're being direct, but it's like, hey, I just saw you here. You're really cute. Or hey, I really like your outfit. And it just sounds platonic. It sounds like just a generic compliment, right? Versus like saying, I just saw you here and I thought you were absolutely stunning. Like really feeling the desire, really feeling your attraction towards her, right? Because if you just say a compliment, then it's just like words. It doesn't do anything, right? The key is emotions, right? If she doesn't feel anything in the interaction, then it's just flatlined emotionally, right? It needs to go like this, right? That's like a heartbeat, up and down. She needs to feel desire, and then your challenge, then maybe more desire, and then challenge, right? It needs to go up and down. So that's the other thing is you're not challenging enough. You're just like, hey, I like you so much. I want to take you somewhere. And she doesn't feel like she had to earn your interest in her. She doesn't feel like she had to work for it at all. So if you do those two things, usually you'll get your numbers will be a lot more solid. Because if you're getting numbers and you're doing daytime approaches but they're not solid, it means you're just being nice and she feels like she needs to reciprocate by being nice back and giving you her phone.
Yeah, I think that's definitely huge, being polarizing and showing intent, for sure. Yeah, well said. I'm in high school. There's this girl. It is in my lunch class, but I don't know any of her friends at her table. Any advice? High school game. Uh,
Nice.
give her a wedgie. She'll love that.
Or your milk on her.
You want to take a stab at this one?
Go sit by her. Go sit at her table.
I can see how, like at high school, there
Yeah,
might be.
no, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's like that is a weird. Yeah, I don't know if that's good advice. Go sit with her. Honestly, I would just go talk. Like if this was me, I would go talk to her at some other situation where it's
Yeah,
one on one, like when she leaves the school, or like between classes. I don't know if you have enough time, but just have an interaction there. You just be really short and sweet. Like I would do the same kind of approach. Like, hey, listen, this is gonna sound super weird, but I know we don't know each other, but I just want to tell you, I just want to introduce myself. I just want to meet you. Seem cool.
yeah. I'll probably go
Something
like
like that.
less direct in high school. Yeah. Again, I've
Yeah.
never. I don't usually hang out in
Yeah,
high
that's why
school.
I wouldn't use a compliment like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. I wouldn't do that.
All right, guys, we're gonna be releasing the high school blueprint in a few months. It's gonna show you how to pick up those high school chicks. We've just been really busy with the middle school blueprint, so that's why it's a little delayed. But yeah, I'm not the best person to ask about that. But yeah, I agree with what Matt said. Uh, Blew her mind twice, but don't text outside of setting up a date could be another reason for retention issues. Possibly. So this is a guy who's like trying to get the girl for another round. It could be. Also, how fast are you kicking the girl out after sex? Like if you cuddle with her and hang out for a while, that's going to make it a lot more solid.
Yeah, I've never had any issues with that where she doesn't want to come back just because you're not texting enough. I mean, she'll initiate. If she wants more texting, she'll initiate it usually. Um,
Alex, how are
It could
things
be.
for
I mean, this happens a lot actually, where like the relationship is going well, the new relationship, and then all of a sudden she just kind of disappears. It happens all the time. And even when things are going really well, and she tells you, "Oh my God, it's the best sex of my life," and she just all of a sudden just stops texting. Just be cool. Don't like blow up her phone. It's probably a test, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Just play it cool, right? Just
Could be
text
some
her. She
chicks
doesn't reply
who are.
back. Wait a week. Try again. That's it.
If all else fails, just call it out. Like, hey, I had a good time with you and was looking forward to hanging out with you again. But if you're not interested, just let me know and I can stop trying. Something like that.
Yeah, I would do something like that after like 2 or 3 tries.
Yeah, as the last resort.
Yeah.
Alex, how are Finnish women compared to other Scandinavian women? I've never been to Norway or Denmark or Sweden, so I can't compare it. But Finnish women are cool. I like them. They're very shy and blonde, and no, they're pretty sexually liberated and open. So I was quite
They're
fond
pretty
of Finland.
similar to the rest of Scandinavia, in my opinion. But I mean, yeah, I didn't live there, so I don't really know all the ins and outs. But you don't need to learn the language; they speak English.
Yeah. Is Cancun flooded with foreigners like Tulum?
Yes. Actually, I haven't been to Tulum, so I can't compare it specifically to Tulum. But yeah, there's a lot of foreigners here, for sure. There's a lot of Mexican foreigners as well, all over Latin America, Europe. Yeah, I love it. It's the plethora of all.
Alex, you should do some Mode 1 hardcore approaches. I was actually thinking about doing that. I'll probably do that at some point. Are you familiar with ARC Mode 1? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like, what does he do? Like, goes up to a girl in a freaking grocery
it's like being
store. It's
super
like, I
direct
want to
right
fuck
off
you
the
in the
bat.
ass.
I don't think it's like that intense, but yeah, I think it's very
I
direct.
think it is.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, some of the examples. I don't know. It's been a while since I read the book.
I had him on the channel like 6 months ago. It was a really good podcast. We went for like fucking 3.5 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a good interview. It's funny because he was telling me initially, he's like, dude, I didn't expect to like you, like not like you, but he's like, I thought you were gonna be like whatever, just like
Man crush.
typical. No, I don't want to put words in. It's just like he was just like, I thought you'd be like a typical PUA, but you actually seem like a cool, normal guy who,
Yeah.
is good. Kissing back and forth, but nothing. How would I ask her out without making? Okay, let's take a few more. So there's this girl I like from my same health coaching program. Been texting back and forth, but nothing too personal. Most about health and such. How would I ask her out without making it awkward? I'd be like, yo, I just got these brand new fish oil pills, and they're gonna make you. No, I don't know. I'll let Matt take a stab at it first.
I would just invite her to something. Well, there's 2 options. Like, either invite her to something just not like super intimate, like, hey, let's just go grab coffee. Something simple like that. Or what actually I probably do if I haven't shown any interest to her is invite her on a group date, or basically hang out with a bunch of people, invite a bunch of people out, invite her as well. And it could be something healthy, like go grab a smoothie or something, but it could also be going to a bar, especially if it's a group of people. Or it could be
Okay.
hiking, it could be a daytime thing.
Oh.
I think a lot of people don't think about that. And that's one thing I'll do. I have noticed that there are some women out there that will very rarely go on a date with a guy. In fact, some cultures are like that. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head. But like they very rarely will go on one-on-one dates. More about like group dates. So like if I try to go on a one-on-one date with a girl and a couple times and it just doesn't happen, then I'm gonna invite her on a group date. Like, hey, a bunch of us are going to such and such place, or I'm throwing a party or whatever it is. Bring some of your friends, bring whoever you want. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and that will sometimes work.
So yeah, that's probably one area where you and I would disagree on. I would never, under the penalty of death, do a group date, simply because I'm too busy. Like I'd rather
You
just
get threesomes, man.
Okay, that's a different type of group date, but yeah, if we're just talking like one chick who I'm interested in, yeah, I would not, simply because I'd just rather at that point like go for a girl who's more probable. I just look at everything in terms of probability. But I guess to kind of bring it back to your question, health coaching, I would use the health coaching thing as an in. So I'd be like, hey, I saw you in whatever the last meeting, blah blah blah. Like use that as an in, and then just treat it like a normal lead. But you use that like the group thing that you have something in common as an in, get the convo started, and then run normal game. That would kind of be like my take on that. This is an interesting question. How would you describe your game identity? Ex jock game, musician game, stoner game, foreign business guy, etc.
I would I kind of think of it as like a combination of like two archetypes, right? There's the like boss businessman, like get shit done archetype. And then there's also another one that I really like is the like super sexual, little flamboyant, maybe rocker kind of archetype, or like Russell Brand, basically just exudes sexuality,
I like
moves his
Russell.
body a lot,
Yeah.
right? I like to combine the two. Before, I was definitely more of like the rocker, like little flamboyant, even like probably even seemed a little gay, maybe. Now it's definitely more on the business, like get shit done, like take charge, like a lot more masculine energy. But I still like to definitely throw in that sexual energy. I feel like that combination is pure gold for sure.
We
But
we
yeah,
we
I like
got
I
we
like
gotta
all
get you
these
on.
examples that you gave. Stoner game. I
We,
mean, yeah, there's definitely a market for that too.
we gotta get you on TRT, Matt. It like helps with that like massively. Like your voice just becomes deeper and shit.
What is TRT?
Testosterone replacement therapy.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
like
I haven't tried that.
half kidding. How would I describe mine? Probably closest would be frat boy game. Not that I'm not gonna get to it. It's a whole long story that I had with frats when I was in college, but that would probably be the closest to it. But in terms of like who do I emulate, it would definitely be Hank Moody from Californication. Like I would say
Nice, good
that
one.
is the character I have the most similarities with in my game. The only difference is I'm probably a lot more aggressive than he is. He's like way more laid back, and he's also a lot wittier than me, probably. But that would be like the closest I would say. Yeah, and I think he's better than like pretty much every PUA in terms of like his like verbal structure and shit. Like David Duchovny like nails that
Yeah,
role.
for sure.
Let's take three more questions. There's three interesting ones that I want to do. Alex, can you ask Matt what his take on Colombia versus Mexico in terms of safety? It's a good question.
I haven't really, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any issues really in either. But to be honest, I've only spent a lot of time in Cancun and Playa del Carmen, which aren't super bad. Actually, I've heard Playa del Carmen is a little unsafe from friends who have spent a lot of time there, like known people who've died, gotten murdered down there.
Really?
But
I heard that same thing
Colombia,
about Cancun.
really,
Yep.
yeah, could be true for both.
I think it is true for both.
Colombia, yeah, probably is. Colombia, yeah, I never felt unsafe in Medellin, really. I mean, I have heard a couple stories of like guys getting mugged, but I haven't heard any stories of people getting killed, which that's what I would be a lot more concerned about. As far as women, however, the women are definitely more attractive, more voluptuous in Colombia.
For sure.
They're more fat in Mexico.
Yeah, gorditas. We got a lot of gorditas in Mexico. Have you
But the good
been
thing
to
is, a
other?
lot of Colombians come to Cancun, and what other reason I'm here is I'm creating kind of a social circle thing where I'm going to bring in like girls from different places, see what happens. See if
Oh,
I can
nice.
get them to live here.
Me and my dog, maybe
So we'll
we can
see.
come and crash the party
You
one
can
of
come
these days.
crash. Hell yeah, your dog can be
Uh,
my dog. Your dog can probably beat up my dog. I have a
dude,
Pomeranian.
my dog is a massive pussy. He looks scary. He looks like a wolf, but he's actually a giant baby. He's a massive, massive baby. He's basically just like a chihuahua in like a wolf's body. Have you been to cities outside of Medellin, like other cities in Colombia?
I've been to Cartagena and Santa Marta, and I think that's it.
Okay.
Didn't really do much game in either of them, so I can't really say on that.
Medellin
Medellin
is
did seem better. Like it seemed like there were more attractive women in Medellin.
100%.
Cartagena was a cool city though, for sure.
Medellin, I think, is the coolest city, has the best infrastructure out of Colombia. I think is the safest out of all of them, at least now, not during Pablo's days. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's safer. Like I was in Bogota and I got like fucking robbed at knife point like my third night.
Jesus.
And Cartagena had some like sketchy elements to it, but like Medellin, if you stay in the right areas, I think it's fine. I felt comfortable walking around Medellin even at night in like the main areas. Um, but once you
Yeah.
get outside
Especially
the main area,
Poblado, I mean, it's
yeah,
totally fine there.
But if you get outside the main areas, like there's some sketchy shit. Like I saw a dude, I was like
Yeah,
outside the main area, I saw a guy run up and kick a cop in the ass, like kick him in the ass while the cop was on the bike, and the cop just laughed about it, and the guy ran away. And I was like, this would never fly in America. You could not in America run up, kick a cop in the ass, run away, and the cop laughs. That cop is
I'm
gonna
surprised
fucking
that.
pop one in your head.
Yeah, I'm surprised that flew in Colombia.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I've been to all over Mexico too. I've been to Playa del Carmen, Cancun. I've been to Guadalajara. I've been to Puerto Vallarta. It just depends where you go. Mexico is not all the same. For example, Acapulco right now has a lot of cartel issues versus a city like Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta is pretty safe. It depends on the city, but when you're in like these third world
Yeah,
countries,
it depends on the city and where you're at in the city. I mean, it's just like
no,
the states. There's certain cities that are less safe, and there's certain parts of those cities that are really unsafe. I mean,
you got to take some precautions. Like you can't be whipping out your smartphone and stuff like that, walking around. Like I remember when I was in Cali, like I took out my smartphone a little bit. I noticed like these two guys were like kind of following us, so we had to like kind of dodge them. So you do have to take some precautions. Uh,
yeah.
but I think it's fine. You just as long as you're careful. Uh, do you both have dating coaches, and what are some things you're trying to improve in your own game? Interesting question.
I I have business coaches, but I don't have dating coaches. I did. Yeah, Vince Kelvin was one of my coaches for a long time. Obviously, Brian. Who else? Those are probably the main two, the main ones that I hired specifically. Love Systems. I don't think they're still around, but I went to a lot of their workshops as well back in the day.
What about the second part of the question?
Trying to improve in my own game, lifestyle. So social circle. I have a mentor. Well, yeah, I guess I don't consider him a dating coach, but I consider him a lifestyle coach. His name's Neil, and he's amazing when it comes to lifestyle. Just like we met up in the Philippines, and he'd always have like all these models with him pretty much everywhere he went. So I'm like, all right, we got to hang out, and we ended up living together for a long time. I learned a bunch from him. So still, that's something that like when you move to a new city, it's like okay, time to rebuild it. So that's what I'm doing now, rebuilding social life, and
Yeah,
it's
I
fun
don't.
because then you get girls, finding new girls, and yeah, it just becomes super fun.
hmm Yeah, I don't have a dating coach. I have actually never hired a dating coach. That's not like I'm not you saying that to brag. It's just I never have it. I just never happened. But I do definitely learn from other dating coaches just by watching videos and like talking to them. Like the cool thing about what I do is I'm in a position that I can pretty much meet a lot of dating coaches and go out with them. So I've learned from watching Austin, from J Mulv, like a lot of guys that you see me associated with. So I definitely learn from other dating coaches, but I don't have one. What am I trying to improve in my own game? Yeah, at this point, I'm not really just focused on my technical game that much. That's not to say it can't use any improvement. It's more I am focused on upgrading my, I guess, like lifestyle and all that, and just like cloud in general. Like I want to get to a point where like girls are sliding my DMs, like, "Yo, I watched that video. I'm playing with fire. How you talked about texting so sexy. I want to suck that dick," which has happened to a very small extent, not obviously not that extreme. I have gotten a few girls from playing with fire. It's very few, but I want to expand that. Like I want to like run lazy guy celebrity game. Basically, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
there
calling
are there are
it.
some
Danny DeVito game.
hate a video game. There are some, what would you call them? PUA groupies, maybe. I don't know what you would call them, but girls who just like are super into it.
Yeah,
That just like,
I mean, I
yeah,
generally
I've
try
I've
to.
been hit up by some super hot girls that are like, I love what you do. Let's meet.
Nice. Let's take this
It's
last
not often.
question.
It's definitely not often.
Let's take this last
So
question because of
don't
super chat.
don't get into it for that, guys.
Advice for short guys. What do you say to a chick when height comes up, especially on Tinder and online dating? That might be a tough question for us because neither one of us is short. What would be your take on that?
I would first probably ignore it, either just like not answer it at all, or just say something funny or witty that implies like height doesn't matter. Obviously, if she keeps insisting, like, no, I need to know how tall you are, then I would suggest telling her. and it's, like coming like telling her how tall you are. Yeah, that's what I would do. I would do the same thing in real life. If a girl asks something like that, she's probably not going to ask you that in
Yeah.
person. Tell how tall you are. If she asks like how old you are, and that could be an issue because you're like 50 and she's like 20, then I would go for a joke first and like show her that it's no big deal. Like, yeah, we can joke about this. I don't care about like, silly. Also another thing you could do is make it more about like, you might not be sure about her. Like height is kind of a weird one. This is more for age, but like let's say she's 20, you're 50, that's a pretty big age gap. But you could be like, well, wait, how old are you? Oh my God, you're way too young for me. You're like a kid. And then like, well, I mean, you seem kind of cool. Do your friends say you're mature? So you could try something like that with height too. Like, wait, how tall are you? I don't like really tall girls. And then if she's like, well, I'm 6'2", you're like, oh shit, I think you're too tall for me. It
And that
would
is
never
a
work out
giant.
for you.
Yeah. It depends how short you are. Like, are we talking 5'2" or 5'7"? Like people have different definitions of short. But one, I would not write it in your Tinder bio. Let her find out herself. Two, I would not take pictures with tall people, right? Because it's a comparison. Like if I take pictures with a bunch of really tall people, I'm gonna look short. I'm 5'11". Um,
Yeah, very
I would exaggerate my height if asked by like an inch or two, and I would probably wear elevator shoes that give you an extra 2 inches. So let's say you're 5'7" with the elevator shoes, you're 5'9", and then you exaggerate, you go on 5'10" or even maybe 5'11". So I wouldn't outright lie, but I would definitely exaggerate. And you gotta accept the fact that height will be a deal breaker for some girls, but you can make the situation worse with other girls by making a big deal out of it. So the best thing you can do is just not make a big deal out of it at all, and just accept the fact that some girls will not be about it, but that's okay because there's going to be other girls who will be about it. I mean, this like some girls are not into me because I'm white. Some girls are not into me because I'm blonde. There's going to be whatever you are. There's going to be chicks who are not into it. So it's just part of the game, for better or for
And you got to
worse.
also remember, yeah, I love all that. You also got to remember that online dating, they're looking for any reason to disqualify you, any reason to swipe left. So it could be height, it could be like all the things you mentioned. It could be the different race that they're just not into. It could be too old, too young, whatever. But if you met that same exact girl who swiped left on you and you met her in person, and she actually got a sense of who you are, she felt your confidence, your vibe, your sexual energy, your intensity, your playfulness, all these awesome things about you, you might completely have a different reaction. Might be totally into you. My ex-girlfriend told me, I was much smaller than any guy she'd ever date. Like I'm a pretty thin guy. I'm not built. She showed me pictures of all her ex-boyfriends. They were all bodybuilders. And after me, she was with another bodybuilder. So, but she was with me because I met her in person. She would have definitely swiped left on me, probably. So, don't forget, like I think it's the best place to meet. Everyday situations. Move to a
Yeah.
city like Miami where there's beautiful people, beautiful women everywhere. And when you see them out and about, your day, go talk to
Yeah, I think it's all good. I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's good to me. Like, just diversify as much as possible. Use different apps. Use your social circle if you have one.
them.
Use
Diversification.
day-to-day situations. Use whatever. Just diversify as much as possible. Uh,
Do it all.
yeah. All right, Matt. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I
much
say
for coming
I
on.
agree with that. Do it all because then you figure out which ones give you the best results, right?
For sure.
Do lifestyle, social circle, night game, day game, Tinder, strip clubs, whatever. Do it all and then figure out what you like the best and what gives you the best
Grinder.
results.
I'm just kidding. All right, Matt. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a good chat. If people want to support your work, follow you, learn more about your coaching, where should they go?
You can follow me on Instagram at Matt Artisan, and I give a bunch of tips and advice there. Also, I go live once in a while and approach girls live. I find that super fun, especially when it's like the first couple ones didn't even stop, and guys are like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then like the next one's an instant date. I love it. So much fun. Anything can happen. And also, if you want coaching, go to theattractivemancoaching.com and apply. You do have to fill out applications, even hop on the call on the phone. We're very picky who we work with, but yeah, go to the Attractive Man Coaching. I mean, there's nothing like live coaching. you want to actually transform this part of your life, then get a mentor, whether it's me, whether it's Alex, whether it's some of the other people we mentioned on here. Like, get this shit handled, you know? This is all good getting information, but take it to the next level and actually get somebody who can pinpoint your blind spots and help you so that you stop pushing women away, stop making all these mistakes, and instead you attract women to you.
For sure. Yeah, guys, check out Matt's channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Guys, hit that fucking subscribe button. Yeah, man, thank you for coming on. The links are going to be in the description. Thank you, guys. And until next time.